This is a story about two decisions, both involving Norway, both involving VAR, both going against the same team in the same quarter-final match. One of them ended a goal that should probably have stood. The other canceled a goal that probably shouldn't have. And somewhere in the middle of those two decisions, Norway's World Cup dream died. Not from a lack of quality, not from a tactical failure, and not because England were simply the better team on the night. Norway went out because of an overhead camera wire, a sensor in a ball that may or may not have registered a collision, and a foul by Haaland before a corner kick that wiped a goal off the board 40 minutes after a completely separate incident that the referee and VAR somehow missed entirely. And within hours of the final whistle, Haaland's own father had posted publicly on social media with the kind of sarcasm that only comes from genuine, informed fury about what just happened to his son's team. So what actually happened in Miami last night? Let's go through all of it, piece by piece, because this story deserves the full picture. Start with the match itself, because the football matters before the controversy does. Norway were magnificent for large stretches of this quarterfinal. Andreas Schilderup, the 20-year-old Freiburg winger who's been one of the quiet revelations of this entire tournament, scored one of the goals of the whole competition in the 36th minute, driving inside from the left, cutting onto his right foot, and bending a finish into the far corner that gave Jordan Pickford no chance. Norway led 1-0. England were second best. Erling Haaland, who arrived at this World Cup as one of its most heavily discussed players, was winning physical battles, holding up the ball, and linking play in the way Ståle Solbakken system demands from him. Norway looked controlled. They looked like a team that had genuinely solved England. 2 minutes into first half stoppage time, that changed, but not because England earned it with quality football. Here's where things get interesting. Ørjan Nyland, Norway's goalkeeper, took a goal kick. The ball went into the air, and as it descended, it appeared to clip one of the cables used to suspend the spider cam, the robotically controlled overhead camera that has become a fixture at modern televised football matches. The trajectory visibly shifted. The ball dropped sharply, landing directly at the feet of Elliot Anderson. It was almost certainly not going to land there without the cable contact. 2 passes later, the ball reached Jude Bellingham, who beat Nyland with a low shot to the far post. 1-1. Norway's players reacted immediately. Nyland, who had literally taken the kick that hit the wire, pointed toward the cable while the ball was still moving in the build-up, trying to alert the referee to what had happened. Solbakken could be seen on the sidelines explaining the situation to officials. Both goalkeeper and manager understood exactly what had happened, and both attempted in real time to flag it to the people with the authority to do something about it. French referee Clement Turpin allowed play to restart. VAR, with Jerome Brassard in the booth, did not intervene. 1-1 at halftime. The law is unambiguous on this point. If the ball touches an external object suspended above the field of play, play stops. A drop ball is used to restart. This is the rule as written. If the ball touches the camera cable and changes direction, the goal that follows should not stand. The match should have been stopped. A drop ball should have been awarded. Bellingham's goal, by the letter of the law, should never have happened. But that's only part of the story, because FIFA had a defense. Within hours of the story breaking, FIFA's official media account posted a statement. Before England's goal in minute 45+2 against Norway, the sensor in the connected ball showed no peak in the heartbeat of the ball when in the air, and therefore no evidence that the ball touched the overhead wire and changed the movement of the ball. The connected ball, the smart ball, the Trionda, FIFA's flagship technological innovation for this tournament. The rechargeable match ball with embedded sensors that can detect the tiniest contacts. That earlier in this tournament was used in the Croatia-Portugal match to detect an offside touch during a build-up sequence and cancel a goal. The same technology used to establish the ball over the line standard that removed goal line technology controversies. FIFA says the sensor showed no contact, therefore it didn't happen. Mark Clattenburg, former FIFA referee working as a rules analyst for Fox Sports, went through the legal and technological question with precision. He confirmed that when a ball strikes an object above the field of play, play should be halted, and that VAR can intervene because the contact happens in a phase of play leading to a goal. Some will ask, why does the VAR not interfere? He said, Yes, they can interfere if that contact of the ball on the camera cable is part of a reviewable incident. If it leads to a goal, it is part of the VAR reviewable incident. That statement doesn't say Clattenburg believes the ball hit the cable. It says that if it did, VAR had the jurisdiction and the obligation to step in. The visual evidence was clear enough that Fox Sports chose to show it repeatedly to their audience during the second half, once it had been identified as a potential issue. Tommy Orr, former Australia international, was unequivocal. You can see the trajectory of the ball completely changes, and that it allowed that bit of space for England to begin that attack. I can completely understand Norway's frustrations at this. It was an error. I personally think they should have acknowledged the error rather than doubling down on the technology stance. That last sentence is the one that stings. Doubling down on the technology stance. FIFA's response, essentially, was, the ball sensor says nothing happened, so nothing happened. The visual evidence and the visible trajectory change that multiple former players and analysts confirmed on camera was set against the sensor reading that showed no peak. And here's the thing about that. The same ball sensor has been cited by FIFA throughout this tournament as definitive proof of contact in disputed situations, including the Croatia case mentioned in ESPN's report. When the sensor is useful to FIFA's narrative, it's authoritative. When it contradicts visual evidence, it's still authoritative. There's no mechanism in FIFA's current communication framework for acknowledging that a sensor might have missed something, even when experienced football people are watching slow-motion footage and saying the trajectory changed. Now here's where the second decision arrives, because if the first controversy ended a goal that should have stood, the second canceled a goal that's genuinely harder to defend. 55 minutes. Norway, still level at 1-1, winning a corner kick. Before the corner was taken, Erling Haaland pushed Elliot Anderson in the chest. Torbjorn Hegem met the delivery and scored. Norway led 2-1. VAR reviewed. The push was identified. The goal was called back under new IFAB regulations that allow goals to be canceled for fouls committed before corner kicks are taken, one of several new rules being applied for the first time at this tournament. The corner was retaken. Norway didn't score from it. England eventually took control of the game and won 3-1. Clattenburg agreed with this second VAR decision. Where do we start with this? Because there are so many situations to deal with. But just before the corner's about to be taken, he clearly pushes Anderson in the chest. And under the new IFAB regulations, if a foul happens just before the corner kick is taken, it should be punished. Under the letter of the law, this call was defensible. But here's what made it so devastating in context. Norway had a goal stand that probably shouldn't have. Then they had a goal canceled that under any previous version of the laws of the game before 2026 would absolutely have stood. England benefited from both outcomes. Norway were punished by both. And the VAR official in the booth for both decisions was Jerome Brassard, the same VAR official who was on duty for the Argentina versus Egypt quarterfinal, the match where Egypt had a goal disallowed for a foul in the build-up detected 20 seconds earlier and the length of the pitch away, and where Egyptian coach Hossam Hassan described the officiating as unfair. Two separate matches, two separate sets of controversial decisions, the same video assistant referee. Let's make this human for a moment, because behind every technical debate, there's Erling Haaland, the most talked about player in world football for the last 3 years, who came to this World Cup as one of its most anticipated performers and is now going home having never played in a World Cup semifinal, in part because a ball hit a wire and a referee didn't notice, and in part because a push before a corner that would have been ignored in every previous tournament was suddenly punishable under rules introduced this year for the first time. His father, Alfie Haaland, who played professionally for Manchester City and Nottingham Forest before a career-ending injury, posted on social media after the match. The content was described across multiple outlets as sarcastic, the kind of message that carefully avoids explicit accusation while leaving absolutely no doubt behind the frustration behind it. He didn't call anyone corrupt. He didn't make a formal complaint. He said what millions of Norway fans were feeling in public, where it couldn't be ignored. Ståle Solbakken, Norway's head coach, was measured but specific in his post-match comments. He addressed the camera cable incident directly, saying his players and staff had identified it immediately, had flagged it in real time to the people responsible for making the decision, and received no acknowledgement. He did not hide the frustration. He also didn't let it define his assessment of what Norway had produced over the course of the entire tournament. Because that's the other story here. Norway reached the World Cup quarterfinals for the first time since 1938. They eliminated Sweden in the group stage, eliminated Jordan in the round of 32, and pushed the defending Euro 2024 runners-up to the absolute limit before the match was decided by these two decisions. Schjelderup's goal will live in Norwegian football memory regardless of the result. Haaland created problems for one of the world's best defensive units throughout the 90 minutes. This wasn't a Norway team that got lucky to be there. They earned every match. Now, let's look at this in historical context, because the Spire Camp incident is genuinely without precedent at a major tournament. Equipment above the field of play has been part of professional football broadcasts for decades. Spider cams suspended by cables have been used at World Cups for years. The rule about balls striking external objects has been in the laws of the game throughout that period. But the connected ball with its embedded sensor system was introduced specifically at this World Cup as the definitive means of detecting ball contacts that human officials might miss. FIFA's Smart Ball was promoted as the final solution to exactly these kinds of disputed contact situations. Now that technology is being used to deny the visual evidence that multiple broadcasters showed their audiences in slow motion, that multiple former professional players agreed on, and that Norway's players identified in real time during the match itself. FIFA's response isn't, the smart ball might have missed something, it's, the smart ball showed no peak, so there was no contact. That stance, taken in the context of a quarterfinal that ended Norway's World Cup, is precisely what Tommy Orr described as doubling down on the technology stance rather than acknowledging the error. So where does this leave things? England are in the semifinals. They'll face France after the European champions beat Morocco in their quarterfinal following their own separate VAR controversy. Norway are going home. Haaland has still never played in a World Cup semifinal. FIFA has not indicated any intention to review the camera cable incident further. Their statement, citing the sensor data, represents the organization's formal position. Whether IFAB will examine the incident and consider any regulatory clarification about the interaction between smart ball sensor data and visual evidence is unknown, but unlikely to produce any outcome that changes what happened on the pitch in Miami last night. The tournament continues. France face England in one semifinal. Argentina and the other semifinalists will complete the bracket. Whether the cumulative weight of disputed VAR decisions from Egypt-Argentina to Morocco-France to Norway-England becomes the story that defines how this World Cup is remembered, or whether the football in the final weeks produces moments powerful enough to overshadow the controversy, is the genuinely open question heading into the final stretch. What do you think? Did the smart ball technology prove it can't be trusted to catch every contact? Or do you believe FIFA's sensor data was accurate and the trajectory change was coincidental? And if you're being honest, does Norway have a legitimate case that they were robbed by two decisions that broke in opposite directions at the exact wrong moments? Leave it in the comments. Both sides of this deserve to be heard. Hit the like button if this breakdown gave you the full picture other channels aren't providing. Subscribe if you want to follow the semifinals and everything surrounding them.